To follow your purpose is to follow nature. Our purpose as humanity is much said to be of doing right or having fun, enjoying life, and living healthy. Individuals are said to be living life when they are following such a purpose rather than something that they feel degrades their being. They realize that they are more than a robot doing the same job day in and day out or following the orders of the few. Yet, many, however, accept the state in their life as necessary to endure as part of their purpose. They drag these obligations with them into their life. Some become consumed by these obligations and it becomes their life. Others are aware of these obligations and take the necessary step back in order to realize the higher obligations found in their lively purpose. This lively purpose is much in accord with our nature, as because we know we should do something to help and maintain ourselves, but we simply choose not to at times. The choice not to follow what we know is a dangerous choice, much because it is dishonest to thyself. We learn from nature so we can better ourselves, so that way we may better live with it. Yet, if we ignore our learning, what we have is the lack of betterment. Both lying and ignorance is not the path toward learning, it is the path toward the lack of care, succumbing to the lack of self-control, the lack of any path or purpose to begin with. It is the very thing which detaches ourselves then with nature, just as we detach ourselves from ourselves. It may seem hard to comprehend the natural world or that knowledge which lived so core to our being if society as a whole remains ignorant of it or even glorifies about or conditions to such ignorance. The perfect example of ignorance in our nature is that of the slavery in our past. Chattel slavery postulated that some human beings are incapable of expressing reason or the ability to pursue their own life, while others should be allowed to instead. We must ask ourselves, for who postulates such degrading assumption? What makes it so that they can dictate and limit one's nature as such? They aren't merely claiming an inability, they are claiming an inherent inability, the expectation for servitude and slavery by the nature of their being, from the basis of their skin color, culture, and current mentality. Factors which are prone to change, yet man forms a mold to his own liking and ego, so to expect other humans to be slaves. Furthermore, if we recognize nature has us born, the ability to do anything anyone else can do given the circumstance, why does man want to limit the potential of another? Again, what makes it so that man can do this if their potential was otherwise provided by nature? If their natural potential is now overruled by man, and freedom is potential, one must ask themselves if they are free if ruled by man and not by nature. Reflecting upon the postulation of claiming humanity's incapability, does this help to empower anyone to anything greater that they very well have the capacity toward? This is not idealism if it's realism, because reality is simply another word for nature, and again, our nature relies on us learning. If we stop learning as because we lack freedom to do so, we stop evolving. We have no ideals because we have no reality that allows us to do so. If it weren't for the innovative writers and inventors in history or the abolitionists of the 19th century, we would not evolve. Therefore, evolution, as it is progress in humanity's learning through time, foretelling all truth, tells us that the abolition of slavery is continually the return to nature. Whereas, to reiterate, a man not free is a man not happy, nor healthy, because he is no longer a man. If we simply inquire upon the nature of humanity, and with it our destiny, are we to live under systems of which have existed for thousands of years? However, what about the system that always existed, that being nature? Man cannot take nature's authority away. Man has no authority over his fellow man. He can only guide his fellow men in pursuit of nature's authority. When he attempts to act as nature, his authority does not last and is inevitably bound to become corrupt, as because he is in an unnatural position over his fellow man. Have you yet inquired into this idea that everything from governments and its borders, paperwork, titles, and positions are all unnatural and serve no natural function or additional service to society? Do you not see that everything it provides is based on stealing from others, and everything it has requires propaganda, bandwagon, and lifelong indoctrination? It is no wonder why there are endless classes on civics and law, because humanity needs to be programmed into their man-made systems in order to maintain it, while still continually ignorant of any natural system, like that of the voluntary world they practice most of their life naturally anyways. They have created a system for evil to excuse itself, for man to override morality with authority and dictate the lives of anyone and everyone that it arbitrarily claims. Living in nature is a given, even despite all that we create. However, being able to recognize its presence among you helps you see life clearly and originally, to see the natural versus unnatural in all things, health and politics both. If you agree the body should naturally heal, what makes you say that the mind can't naturally think or act? Why must we attempt to force people to act naturally when in reality, nature remains naturally, and all we must do is, as ancient Taoism describes, the Wu Wei, embrace, allow. To follow no one, as it would be ignorance to our self-control and potential, but to follow truth, such a following of such an authority is simply knowing. We can only know by listening. We can only teach by example and guidance. Why should only few have the special privilege to do so, or to even then demand compliance? So evil attempts, nature has no attempt. It is truth. It is everyday people who legitimize the attempts, who legitimize man-made authority. We can only truly govern ourselves just as only we can truly own ourselves. And those who embrace to govern themselves or own themselves are ungovernable. Never to be slaves, always to have nature, always to have thyself. And this is the key, guys. This is an article I wrote to remind us of why nature is the answer. This is the title of my channel and a lot of my works, but this is an article I wrote for The Liberator 2, which anybody can contribute to. If you want to send your article, I'll turn it into a video for you. You want to send your music, you want to send your poetry, your art, whatever it is, get involved, because this is a whole world that needs this knowledge. You can see there's contradictions that people live with, and then they wonder why nature's going away or it's being destroyed. In the aggregate of society, this is the thing that's affecting it the most, because people are living under an illusion. And really, a detachment from nature is a detachment from its authority. So when you replace nature's authority with man's authority, you really have no emphasis on nature to use for medicine, for politics, or anything for that matter. It's totally just disregarded. Its authority is there first. It's respect. You saying, wow, I live in this world, I have to learn from it. Man, it's something that we can harmonize with. We can live in order amongst. And really, we have no choice but to do that, but we may choose not to with our ignorance. And that's why ignorance is this great evil that Socrates says, the only evil. Now let me give you some examples of some of the contradictions that live within the current man-made systems. When the government does it, it's the Patriot Act, but when anyone else does it, it's felony wiretapping. When the government does it, it's enhanced interrogation. When anybody else does it, it's torture. When the government does no-knock raids, we are breaking and entering. Okay, so you can see this pattern: taxation, armed robbery, arrest, kidnapping, indefinite detention, holding hostages, income and property tax, tribute to mafia, protecting and serving, terrorizing, education, indoctrination, making a campaign promise, lying, campaign contribution, bribery, defense operation, aggression, military occupation, land theft, peacekeeping mission, invasion, TSA pat-down, sexual assault, national security, spying on your neighbors, war, mass murder. These contradictions are alarming, and we shouldn't be living with these in our lives. Everybody should strive to do what is right and what is moral, as a society as a whole, as everybody on earth. We shouldn't give certain people the right to use violence on others, because violence is always wrong. This is the key to this whole understanding. This is the key to understanding that slavery can never be right or legitimate, and that there's other forms of slavery that we are living with that many people do not know. Learn more at theliberator.us. That's theliberator.us. Thank you very much for watching.